technology for tomorrow's talent management. While this topic sounds bombastic, I will say that in short and to simplify, it's the technology and the talent management integration, to very, very simply say that. So, the traditional talent management approach has been, that you have a top talent and they go through a, predefined career path. But now, today it is changing to a workforce architecture model focused dynamically, aligning talent to work opportunities. The shift driven by evolving strategies and practices within multiple HR domains, example say talent acquisition or organizational design, has led organizations to take a hard look at technological capabilities available to support talent mobility. Partners or vendors, as you say, we say partners, with offerings supporting talent mobility, especially those that apply marketplace principles of workforce, supply and demand, provide a mechanism for direct communication between organizations and workforce regarding available work opportunities. This evolution has organizations reflecting on two aspects: to better understand how talent mobility and marketplace solutions can support their objectives, strategic objectives, and meet the needs of the workforce. So I'll start with the lady on my right. There is no biasness, giving a priority to our youngest member. So, my question to you, Tuloina, engaging prospective candidates with the help of automated and technical platforms, does it lead to an encouraging experience? If yes, how does the system work? Could you share with us few pointers which relate to cherished employee experience? And I know you are a D&I evangelist, so how do you keep a focus with this tech support on inclusivity?
Thanks, Ratna. Quite a long question, don't you all believe? I'm going to break that question into three parts. First, what she's asked is, how does, how do you engage candidates towards a better employee experience through automation or through technology? Does it help? Of course it helps. There is no to this answer. Why does it help? Technology, today's generation, they are Gen Zs, they are called. They eat, breathe, dream technology. I don't think we can do without it. But we, who are a generation maybe before them, even we have gotten so accustomed with technology. The most important being this: I think without our phones, we are almost half dead. If our phone gets lost, we are so anxious. Coming back to the question, how does an organization engage its employees through automation, and how does the point of inclusivity comes into this? How is technology or automation in sync with inclusivity? Well, I think the answer is very simple. Technology does not differentiate between any gender. The driving wheel does not know whether it's a man's hand or a woman's hand. The computer does not know who's typing. AI does not know who's operating. The coding systems do not know whether the person behind the code is a person with a disability, is a black Orient, is on a black skin, is an African, is an American, is an Indian, is a fair skin, is a deaf or a dumb, does not know. So technology, the basic boon of using technology, of using automation, is to actually promote fairness and inclusivity, because systems are fair for all. So a fair approach through automation, through technology, will always determine that the best person or the best choice is given and a fair approach is taken. For example, because I'm in HR and I've got 2 decades of HR, in recruitment, why are we using AI? Obviously, to make our repetitive tasks better, faster, more efficient, because the computer is much more faster. We can do a lot of algorithms, analysis that we can do through data analytics, but also because when we screen CVs through automation, through systems, then it just gives us the right CVs and the best CVs without even judging whether it's a male, female, whether it's a person who has got, maybe a speech disability or maybe communication issues, etc. It just helps our communication process so much better because, we get the fair and the best CVs screened. Or maybe on the communication process, or maybe in the hybrid model. A lot of people in the papers before spoke about pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. Yes, it's a post-pandemic phenomena where we are operating in a hybrid model. We are operating in a hybrid environment. In banking, it's a service industry, so there are it's spread all across the country. When people are spread all across the country, how do you ensure that people are engaged all on the same platform? How do you ensure they learn the same thing as what you're teaching in Bombay, the same thing is being taught in Calcutta? How do you ensure that all people are together, bound through one platform, are doing the same unified level? It's all through technology. Without that, I think in current arena, where there's a hybrid model of working, where there's a pan-geographical model of working, or when you're working across the globe has become so smaller. How do you ensure without the advent of technology? It is very, very difficult. But all that we have to take into control is to ensure the system supplements our work. It does not eat away our work. We should not be relying on systems so much so that the system does only the job and the human touch point is lost. That's what is probably the area of discussion. That's what is to say, how do we marshal? Yes, as in take forward a cutting-edge technology. Talent management is always there. I mean, in the old age Gurukul days, the tutor Dronacharya also used to ensure that his pupils become skilled. They become talented. But then he did not need to go across to different areas. He had his own pupils under his own arena, in a physical mod, in a traditional model where he was teaching. But today we don't have those pupils all under one place. They are all spread across, and that's where technology comes in.
Thank you, Tuloina. Just catching up from our national HR head at Yes Bank, you spoke about, really data doesn't understand gender, and there is, so that calls for a lot of transparency and openness. So I come to Mr. Dr. Busrai, and I would say when you spoke about AI, because you have been so many years and you've seen so much ups and downs and movement going up to technology, how can leaders leverage AI to improve talent management and development outcomes? I understand that the reducing of biasness and transparency is there. So how do you do that? How should leaders leverage AI to bring diverse talent into the workforce?
Thank you, Dr. Asana. When we talk about talent management and automation or technology, we forget that there are 2 classes, completely dissected classes in an organization. The one Tulana referred to, that the younger ones breathe technology. Those employees, and when you say leaders, they are reasonably experienced people, they don't breathe in technology. They are scared of technology. Let's admit it amongst ourselves that they don't like this new technology coming, which makes them feel they are obsolete. There's a very big fear factor, and organizations don't recognize. Many organizations, some do. And people who are getting affected don't have the desire to show inadequacy. So they don't typically go and learn something. Not all, but some. But those of us who learn technology fast realize that this is as good as a tool like a calculator. You feed in what you want, you'll get exactly right results. If you want to do analysis, it's much easier to do it now than it was in the days of Excel and other form. The only issue here that I notice leaders using it, that the influencing factor does come in. is that what you ask is what you get. And that influencing factor is actually depending also on the algorithm that is fed into the system. Last year, Google went into a serious legal issue for bias in their hiring, and they had to redo the entire algorithm altogether. So the bias is not apparent, but it is hidden and silent, which is more dangerous. Everything has some positives, some negatives. But using AI has to be thought in one angle, that is the first use or the early users benefit. And I'll give you one example, ma'am. 2006 and 7, in IBM, we worked with technology to do some predictive attrition. Way back in RP, that is how many years? 2006, 7 is more than 10, 12 years. And their advantage was that we were the early birds. Now, we didn't rely on that to say this is the attrition predicted that it will happen. But it opened our eyes to take proactive measures. And we reduced attrition by almost 1.2 to 1.5%. Now, those of my friends here will wonder what is a big deal about 1.2 to 1.5%. But when you are hiring about 17 to 1900 people each month, they're joining. That 1% attrition reduction makes a huge difference in cost of hiring and also replacement cost. So bottom line, Ratna, is that if the technology is there, it has to be used sensibly. Just because it's there to use it and get excited about a fad. And we in HR sometimes are responsible for responding to a fad. We take on something and become a fad. Dr. TV Rao in the morning very rightly mentioned that slave-master relationship is clearly defined. Information is there, data is there, analysis capacity is there, but do we need it? And how do we utilize it rather than we have to use it because it's there? And that choice is very critical, because right now, if you do look at some of the best organizations using technology, they have benefited. I'll give you one more example, ma'am. I spent half my career with Unilever, and about 2-3 years back, just before, after COVID, I went to Blackfriars headquarters in UK and met some old friends. And there I saw the use of facial recognition in recruitment. Now, why I give this example, Unilever across the world was very, very fussy about recruitment. It's so fussy that 2 vice presidents were required at the time of hiring management training. The philosophy of the organization was that when you hire right, everything goes well afterwards. Now that organization, which believed in almost 5 to 6 personal interaction to hire even a management trainee, was actually experimenting with facial recognition. The 26 points in the face were identified, and when the person was interviewed without human being, the facial expression, tightening of the muscle, dilation of the pupil, everything was recorded and compared with the background of 165,000 people to determine authenticity. Now, mind-boggling, an organization which was so strict on this principle of facial personal interaction. And I saw one intern, Beatrice was her name. She had gone through 3 rounds of interviews, facial recognition included, and almost 90% of selection was done. So when she came to Blackfriars headquarters, she was only met to say hello, hi, hello, and given the letter. Now, why I give this example, this is the adaptability and adoption that is critical. If the organization says, oh, we have always done it like this, and we are the most successful in doing that way, we will not change. That organization will go backwards. So the key point, I would say, for all of us to make sure an organization is to adapt and adopt. Now, it's not easy. It's nice to say in an air-conditioned hall like this, adapt and adopt, but when everything is threatened around you and you don't know how to adapt and adopt, or you don't want to adapt and adopt, that choice has to be made. And that choice will be forced to make. Way back in the 70s when computerization happened, I happen to be in Dalda factory in Shamnagar, which is only about 40 kilometers from here. And the union threatened action because we were planning to bring in computers. And today, if you take away the computer, the same union will protest, why did you take away the computer? It's only a question of matter of use and time and sensible use of the technology that is given to you that makes people accept it and invade it.
Absolutely. I've seen in my previous, all of them are at least minimum ITI. So I'm talking of union workers. So they were all ready. When is it coming? What are we going to do? Thank you, thank you. And you spoke about also the attrition, and on that note, I go to Mr. Yadav on this. You have built from strength to strength, and I've seen some of yours been ticking, and there's hardly much of attrition. How do you do the succession planning with the tech support?
So, thank you, Ratna, and thank you, Natras, for giving me an opportunity to come here to be part of this August gathering and also meet with friends like Akhil, Ratna, and Tulona. I'm sorry, it's a tongue-twisting name, but succession planning, there are two contexts. Let me give one example, the earlier, how the performance appraisal used to happen. So I had a client and he said, RP, I was surprised to understand how my factory manager gave promotion to a supervisor. And to some extent, you will also be surprised once I tell you this, So the factory manager, he was religious of Kalima. So the supervisor who was working under him, he will make it a point, he will go to once in a month at least Kali Ghat, do puja and bring prasad for the manager, the factory manager. He continued like this for a year, and at the end of the year, when the promotion came, then this supervisor got the promotion. So that was the era, this is how it was happening. But in the current era, where it is a technology-driven succession planning, and there are tools, HRMS tools are available with desktop and also through the app. So how we do those tools, and see again the era of what we have seen in the past, that you do either once in a year performance appraisal or you do half yearly. Those era also has gone, because very subjective things when you do the performance appraisal. But if you take an HRMS tool which is technology driven, which has got app based and which has got also desktop based. So performance appraisal in current era through the HRMS tool it is on go. On go means, for example, let's take two examples. One is the sales department and take the example of the factory. Now, sales guy, when he is working throughout the year, throughout the month, throughout the week, throughout the days, in a quantified way, he achieves, every day he achieves certain target, every week he achieves certain target, every month he achieves the target. He creates some prospects, he closes some deals, he penetrates the market, and he does blah blah. These all things which he does, these are the quantitative. Qualitative is, how he deals with the client, whether the repetitive order comes from the client on the basis of what he talks. All these things you can do on the HRMS tool, on the app, through your boss on daily basis, and the rating could be done on daily. So the summary of the rating is available every month at any point of time. So that's the example of the sales department. Let's take the example of the factory. The factory, there is a production, so production has to be achieved, so there is a quantified target. The productivity of the workers, if you have a benchmark of 10, whether they are doing an 8 or 9, that is, can be measured. In terms of qualitative way, the behavioral, the people whether they have attended, they have worked throughout the day 8 hours or 9 hours. So all you do, you know. So idea is that, you know, when you do through the HRMS tool, the performance appraisal is on go. And this if you keep on doing 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, then finding a successor or succession planning becomes on tool based rather than what used to be in the past on either liking based or perception based. এই লোকটা ভালো আছে, এই ছেলেটা ভালো করবে, এটা ঠিক করবে, একে প্রমোশন দাও, একে জেনারেল ম্যানেজার বানাও. I think those era is finishing, you know, because this on-go tools which is available, on that basis if you do the succession planning, it is measured. Of course, like Dr. Rao said, you know, that whatever tools we generate, the humans cannot be replaced. It is the tools we generate. And tool works for us, we don't work for the tools. Throughout the tools, we bring the result in the company. So even the same thing we practice, you know, and on go. And if you do this on go tools to find out the succession plan, in Genius we have CEOs, the vice president, the presidents, general manager, anything working between 10 years to 25 years, you know, and all these succession planning has done in such a way. And I'm fortunate I have no vacancy from outside to take a senior person in the company. So that's the advantage of using the tools of HRMS on go to find the successors. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. I mean, you have a huge database and turning data, succession planning.